Joe Cerrone.
And Al Rosen.
We're going to show you how to work the furniture installation plan from Chapter 9 for AutoCAD for interior design. If we look at Chapter 9, Chapter 9 has us use these commands: attdia, attribute display, attribute manager, data extraction, attdef, define attributes, edit attributes. And as you work with attributes, these are the commands that we'll work with, and it'll make more sense to you as we go through the chapter. And as we look at these drawings, here's our office floor plan. What we do is we draw the furniture and then we define the attributes for it. And so if I zoom in on these rooms, you have all this different furniture. We have this credenza, we have a desk chair, and then it has database information attached to the block. That's what an attribute is. An attribute is database information, which is like description, part number, dimensions, material. Descriptions, part number, dimensions, material. Descriptions, part number, dimensions, material. So as you go through and you work with these attributes, that's what they're going for. And then the idea is that you can be able to get a bill of material of all your furniture. And so your buyer can just go and count how many things are on the list rather than go through with a magic marker and highlight each of the chairs that are of one particular type. So this is our furniture installation plan. And they have us go through and create these attributes. And so as we go through and we work with blocks, what they want us to do is they want us to draw the furniture as a block. And when you work with blocks, you draw them on layer 0. And think of a chameleon, right? A chameleon's this kind of lizard-like animal that can change colors, right? And so if you put a chameleon against a background of a particular color, the chameleon can match it. And that's what layer 0 is like. Anything created on layer 0 will match the colors of different layers. And so by creating the blocks on layer 0, when you insert them on a different layer, they turn the colors and line types of that different color and layer. And then here's our attributes. attdef is a command that you use to make the attributes. And attributes have a number of properties: invisible, constant, and they separate it by page. But they tell you right here: constant, variable, verify. And so when you make these, it's really not too bad. The hardest part is setting up the text height for them. And so as we go through and we work with this, what I would do would be to draw the furniture first. And so here's the furniture, and they do give us all the dimensions for it. So you draw this desk like this, and then you create these different attributes. And so if I were to go over here and I go to my drawing of my furniture, here's my desk, and it looks like everything is properly dimensioned. And then what I would do is go to my layer 0, make that active, and then I'd type in attdef. Now you could type that in, or you could go to the annotate tab, I believe, and you can define an attribute.
Try view, Joe.
Insert?
View or insert, either way. Insert does a great job.
Yeah, here it is. So this is insert block, this is edit attribute, and here's define attribute. And see how it's like a little tag? Think of it as like a furniture tag, like tells you the price and you know what it is. So this is the attdef command, and if you hover over it long enough, it doesn't give us much help. So we'll go to the ATTDEF command, and this is what they're talking about here with tying this together to here. Description, okay, when we get down to it, actually tag. So the tag is going to be called DESC. So we come over here and let's look at this a little bit more. Mode is constant, default value reception desk. And so what I would do here is I'd say constant. And like I say, they put these little boxes around everything. And then the tag here would be DESC. And then the default, okay, since this is constant, the default value would be reception desk. And then here's where it's a little tricky. It's the text height. And I didn't see that in my directions, unfortunately. So I'm going to go with the justification on this. I'm going to say, and I could be wrong, I'm going to say centered. And then I'm going to say for the text height, 4 inches. That's usually a good height. And so constant insertion point specify on screen. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create this over to the side of it. So just like they did right here. And then I hit enter. The reason I hit enter is because I want to create another one. And the next one I'm going to call manufacturer. And so what we want to do is create a multi-level attribute. And so it's got 4 or 5 parts to it: description, manufacturer, product, size, and finish. And those are all going to be attached to one block. So multiple tags in one block. And so we go and we just crank them out. So the tag is going to be MFG for manufacturer. The default value will be LK, whoever that is. And then use the same attributes that we did before. And here's a nice trick. A line below previous keeps everything lined up really nicely. So we'll say a line below previous, and we'll say okay. And then it goes underneath it. We hit enter to repeat the last command. Type in the other ones, PROD. And then this one's going to be 96-66-RL. And then justification center, a line below previous. Okay. Next one. And I don't know if I want this lock position thing on. That's going to goof me up. So I'll have to edit that on the other 2 I just did. But I'll fix it. Product, I just did. Size. And then the default size for this one would be 96 inches dash 96 inches wide by 66 inches deep. Centered. Once you create one attribute, you can edit it and make it work for the other ones. So it's not as bad as you think. And I should have changed this one to variable. And so change it from constant to, and so they say mode is variable. I think what they meant was verify. And what that means is when you verify it, it'll ask you, enter dimensions, which we really don't want to do. And I'll just show you how that works. And so I'll say okay for that. And then I should have aligned it below the previous, but I'll just eyeball it. So we'll just go with it. It has to be in the center like that. And then enter. And then the last one will be finish. And then the finish asks for verify. So maybe there was a variable somewhere in here, but I don't see it. And so we'll go with enter finish here. And then the default will be oiled walnut. Going away. Not going to have what everything's going to be white and gray, I think. and we'll say align below previous, and we'll say okay, just like that. And then if I needed to edit this attribute, what I could do is double click on it, and it just goes into that edit description. Batman, B-A-T-T, man, I think is a little better. And so we can go into some of these details. Block attribute, I didn't make it into a block yet. All right, and so here's my attributes. If I wanted to attach them to a block, what I would do is I would just move them onto the block where I wanted them to be displayed. So I'll say right here, good enough. And then what I would do is I'd create a block by saying make block. And so here's create block, create block. Now I'm not sure if they're having me do them as W blocks or as create blocks. What's the difference? The difference is when you use the create block, it creates a block table in the drawing, and the parts are only available in that drawing. So we could make a title block called furniture blocks, and you could use that. But a lot of people write them out because then you can put them in any drawing. I'm just going to keep them in this drawing. So I'll say create block, and then we'll call it the name of it. And so this one is called reception. Right, now it might already be in here. Looks like there is one. There it is, reception desk. And I'm going to call it reception desk 2 because this one is going to have my blocks on it. And then you give it the base point. I'm not sure where they put theirs on it, but I'm just going to go and choose the midpoint here. And then you select the objects. And when I select the attributes, I always select them in the order I want to be prompted. And so I always select them, and then I select the geometry, because there's nothing worse than expecting it to ask you for a description that goes to manufacturer, you know, asking you questions out of order. And so you hit enter, retain it so that it doesn't erase the original. You can put a description in here. Everything else is good. So you say okay. And then when we insert the reception desk into the room, and so here's the reception desk here. We want to go to our layer 0, or let's go to a furniture layer. So if we go on layer furniture, you'll see why those things were created on layer 0. And I'm just going to take this one here, and I'm going to just delete it. And then I'm going to go insert block, and I'm going to say from the block library. No. So it's gonna just mess up my whole thing. I've never gotten anything back from a submitted error report. So I might be able to recover this. Now, if I go to where I was working on that drawing, which was here, and then I look in my folder, and so I created a master file. What you want to do is look for a file that's got the correct date on it. And so if I go here and I look at what I've been working on, it looks like
Joe, you want to try the left-hand side and on AutoCAD and see maybe it's sitting there.
no.
drag it down, please.
You could be right. Let's see if that's the one.
There it is.
Right. So there was, yeah, it did keep some of it. All right, so which one do you think? The backup?
Can't see on my screen. Let me shrink my screen down so I can see yours. Go down one, please. Go down one more.
Here we are. All right,
Down
so
one.
it
Go
did
down to the next
not
one.
save my attribute information, unfortunately. Let's try the other one.
There it is.
Yeah, it'll probably do the same thing to me.
Yeah.
So back to the model space. And then just as a quick way that I would do it, I'll just do this really fast. You go to layer 0.
It should have saved your W block, Joe. Let me correct you. Your block should be still there. Try insert one more time, please, real quick. Put insert.
I'm not counting on it. I can redo the whole thing by the time I find it. So
Okay.
we type in ATTDEF, attribute display, and I'm just going to make them all constant because that's what they should be. So the first tag is going to be DESC, and then I'm going to type in reception desk. And then I'm going to say centered. And then I'm going to make this 4 inches. And I'm going to place the first one. I'm going to get rid of this lock position thing. And I'm going to say OK. And then usually I just put them right on the part. And so I'll put them like right there. And then what I do is I hit enter and I just crank them out. MFG. And then manufacturer will be LK. And then that's it. Centered. Align below previous. Okay. Enter. Do the next one. PROD. The default value will be 96 -66 -RL. Centered. These should stick. 4 inches. Align below previous. Okay. And then one more time. Size. And then the size, kind of redundant in my opinion, 96 W by 66 inches deep. Centered, align below previous, okay. And lastly, one more time, finish. And then the default value will be oiled walnut. And we'll say centered and 4 inches, align below previous. Okay. So that's how you define an attribute. And we're going to save it this time in case I crash because it seems to have problems with inserting blocks. I have been crashing on that a lot, Al. So I think if I don't insert it with the insert command, it won't crash. But if I use Design Center, it'll work. So I'm just going to go and I'm just going to say JC-chapter 9. And I'm going to put this in the right spot, which is my big organizational thing. I got this hard drive. I'm putting it in my master. And let's get rid of the word student. I'll say in class is what I usually do. So I can remember. All right. And so now what we do is we create the attribute. And so when we make a block out of it, so we say create block. And then what I'll do is I'll say reception desk 2. And then I say pick point for the base. I'll put it right in the middle. And then I'll select my objects. I don't want the dimensions. And I'm not sure if I got that or not, so I'll just make sure I got it. I'll hit enter. And then, we could put a,
And as you can tell, right next to adjacent to is the reception desk 2, where's his name. It has a picture or a drawing picture of what Joe just made a block or making a block of.
right. So we go ahead and follow the directions on it. Now, when I insert it, I've been getting some glitches. And so I'm going to be careful this time. And so I'm going to use Design Center to insert it because it seems to be what sets my computer off. So I'll say DC for Design Center. And then I'm going to hopefully be able to figure out how to navigate because Joe has lots of problems with his navigation. And so if I go to, look at that. There we are. And then the name of this drawing is JC Chapter 9. And when you use Design Center, you can drag and drop anything with a name. So it's a great content manager. We're going to go with blocks. And so it finds the blocks. And I should see a reception desk 2 in here.
You made a block, not a W block, Joe. You make a W block, just make it show up on Design Center.
No, I'm in the drawing. So it should be in here.
Go back up to where's the blocks, please.
Well, no, it'll crash. So here's my reception desk. I can drop that in. Now let me just do it again because I just made that. Okay, so if we say bmake, that's the command. And I'm going to say Joe's reception desk. Just give it a different name. Put it right there. And then I'll select the objects. I like to choose the attributes in the order I want to be prompted. And then I choose the geometry. I hit enter. And then retain. I could convert it to a block if we want. Let's just say okay here. And then when I go here, I should see Joe's reception desk.
Click on blocks, please. This is down below, right below it, right below it. Double click on it. There it is.
I could redefine the existing block, I guess that might work. But you saw me do it, Al. That's the right way to do it. I don't know why it's not. And I know what's going to happen when I insert it. So I'm going to save it and I'll show you what will probably happen. Let me do a save as, save it. Yes. And then if I were to insert, and so here's the insert command. And then if I go with,
No, I right on top there.
here's Joe's reception desk. Hey, hasn't crashed yet. All right. And then if I put it, I would put it here, but I'm just going to put it outside of the room like that. Then you get the block with the attributes. And that's the magic behind what they're trying to do here. What they're trying to do is to be able to tag everything with an attribute. And then we can go into the attribute display, ATT DISP, and we can turn off the attributes because usually you'll put pricing information on it. And so if that desk costs $500 and then Al finds out that I got a $500 desk, he's going to want a $500 desk. So we hide it from our coworkers so that they don't know how much everything costs. And that's done with the attribute display. Again, I can turn it back on, ATT DISP, on, and then you'll see those. And here's the other nice thing is that once you create the one attribute, you can just copy it to the other ones and then edit it. And so rather than go through and do all that hard work, copy your attributes and then edit them. And so you just copy this one down to the next one, down to the next one. And then if I were to go through and let's see if I can redefine it. So this one's called table desk. And so if I go create block, I'm afraid to use some of these commands because it crashed. Bmake works. And then I make this the same name. This is how you redefine a block. And so we'll say table desk if I have it. Yep, there it is. And we go with pick point and we'll put that right there. And then we'll select our attributes. I should have edited them before I did it. And so let me do that. So before I do that, you just double click on it and you just change the description for that one. So the description will be table desk. Because the attributes are tied to the block. And then product, the size is different. And so we'll say 72-42. And then you go to the size, and this is going to be 72 wide by 42 deep. And then the finish is the same, so I'm not going to change it. Well, I'll show you. The finish is the same, so I don't need to change it. So you edit the attribute. After you copy it, you'll have to edit this one too because it's different. And then once we have done that, what we'll do is we'll make it into a block, bmake, and we'll pull up the same one because I'm going to try to redefine it, table desk. I'll give it a base point right there. I'll select my objects. I like to select the attributes in the order I want to be prompted, if I'm going to be prompted. These are constant, so I don't really need to worry about it. And there's a geometry, enter, and okay. So I'll redefine it. And now when I redefine it, we should actually see, yeah, it's working. So now that attribute has been applied to that block. So wherever I had that table desk, if I have more of them, and I do, I'll get that information. And this one you can see was inserted and rotated. So sometimes you'll have to fix them by rotating the object like that. All right, and this video is going to get kind of long, so I'm going to stop it there, and we can make another one as far as how to extract the attributes. But this video shows how to create an attribute, attach it to a block, and then insert it. I'm going to stop the recording. Let me pause it.